Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to resume our lessons in Wix. We're going to focus on creating a web page which emulates a paper like the New York Times or website like CNN. So let's start. Everybody, please log into Wix. Now, if you saved your site from last time, the blank website, you can start from that. If you haven't, create a new website. We do that by clicking on the plus button here to create a new website. We're going to click on Other. We're going to choose a template where we're creating a Wix website by yourself, blank templates, and start from scratch. After we do that, we should be in our, once again, familiar blank screen. Now let's talk a little bit about these screen because you see here basically 9 quadrants. The 4 cells in the center are what most people are going to look at. The cells all the way to the right and all the way to the left only really come into play for very large terminals, and they generally don't come into play for mobile. Now in the center, there's 3 things. There's the header, which you will see at the top of every web page. There's the body of the web page, which has really most of what we're looking for and what we're going to be processing. And the bottom is the footer. It's totally acceptable and okay if the footer is blank. The header should be the same across all different web pages. So within one site, you can have many pages. Every page should have the same site header. What we're going to do now is we're going to create header titles, page titles, and paragraph titles, similar to what you might see structurally in the New York Times. So we're going to go here all the way to the left and click on the Add button. After you do that, it comes up with a whole lot of menus. We're going to be spending a lot of time on these menus. But for today, we're going to click on the text button. We're going to focus on the text menu. And we're really going to work with these first few ones. I'm going to click on site title. I'm going to pull that into the header. So that site title will show up in every single page of my website. Next, I'm going to click on page title, which is only true for the page I'm looking at now. If there was multiple pages that had multiple different web page titles. Notice when I'm moving my page title around, and I can drag it everywhere. Notice on the top of it is the X and Y coordinates, think graph paper. But more importantly, I'm lining it up with the top of the page, if you see here, and then I'm lining it up with the site title. When they're lined up perfectly, a line will come from the site title down to the page title. That tells me when I do my web page, the two will line up well and accurately. Beneath that, I'm going to put, again, going to the text, I'm going to go to a heading. So again, think of an individual story in the New York Times. I'm going to line it up against all the way to the left. And beneath that, I'm going to add a paragraph. And once again, I'm going to put that all the way to the left here. Now, something we're going to want to do for our websites, all the ones we're going to do in this class, we're going to have what they call a page counter. And by that, I mean every time a person comes to a website, we want to know about it. So the software exists, and they have what they call in Wix apps, just like phone apps, just like Android apps. They are applications free to you. You don't have to write them, and they're very, very useful. So we're going to go here to the app market, and then here we're going to search for the word counter. And when I do that, it says Wix hit counter, which is what we want. I'm going to click on add to the site. I'm going to drag it into my header because I want it to show up on every single page. I'm going to drag it all the way to the right. And click on settings, because as you notice, it starts at 1, 2, 3, 4, when we really want to start the counting at 1. So the first person who ever sees this website should be counted as the first one, not the 1,234th. So I go to 1, I'd start a counter at 1, I click anywhere else, it revises the count back to 1. The final thing I'm going to do is I wanted people to know that this is the hit counter. So I'm going to go back to text. I'm going to go small heading, and I'm going to drag that into my header, immediately above my visitor counter. I'm going to double click on small heading, and I'm just going to type right on top of it, visitor count. I'm now going to save this web page. I'm going to call it, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it project 2, just because I can't think of anything right now. Hit save and continue. Then I'm going to publish it. And that's it for today's lesson. In summary, what we did was just a few things. We created another kind of template that we can use in the future, a future website so we don't have to start from scratch. We have 4 different types of titles. We have the site title, which is for this same title across all the web pages. It's up here. We have the page title, which is unique only to that individual page. And then we have a heading and a paragraph. Now, in terms of hierarchy, what should happen, and it's not really that true right now, is that when you go from site title to page title to heading to paragraph, you should be going from large to smaller. And people will see that what is the most important. That's what they call hierarchy.